can grow and be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, we share tips every week to improve your physical, mental, social, intellectual, spiritual, and of course, your financial health. Today's episode, we are focusing on how to improve your financial health with cash flow. If you've never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show for you. It's built on the fundamental belief that every person you know meets something, or every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. In the spirit of authenticity, we do not discuss our tips. We don't discuss our advice before the show goes. So what you're about to learn is the first time I'm hearing it as well. We try to have our guests speak from their own life journey on how to give their advice and tips from what they've learned in their lives so that you can hopefully take some away from each one of us. Audience, this is an interactive show and it is live. So if you comment on any of our social medias or any of our channels, your questions will be asked live on air. And we do also want to give a quick shout out to a couple of our followers on social media. We want to thank you so much for coming on Facebook. Brendan Whitting, thanks for following us. Instagram, Shilpi Joshi, thank you for following. TikTok, John Ortiz, and on YouTube, Nanao. Thank you guys so much for helping us out and keeping this show growing. Guests, we are always looking for new guests, and I know that you can have a place to be on the show. I know everyone has something to share, so please sign up. Our link is being dropped right now. We'd love to have you on the show as a guest and show off your knowledge in whatever topic you feel comfortable with. And if you have a topic idea, we'd love to hear it. Maybe there's something holding you back. Maybe spiritually you're a little lost. Maybe times are a little tough financially or physically. Whatever it is, shoot us a topic. We'll go out and find 3 awesome guests to give you advice on how to get through that little hump in life. If you love what we do and you love all the tips that we give, I do also offer free growth consultations one-on-one. I love giving back and I love helping teach people all the knowledge that I have acquired, especially doing this show. So please, that link's being dropped right now. Feel free to sign up and let's grow together. And last but not least, on my little spiel, our sponsors today. Our show is sponsored by Ross Alexander, super amazing guy, coach, former athlete. He inspires others through public speaking, and he shares strategies for coping, achieving goals, and finding purpose in your life. Check out that link below. Please go like him on Facebook and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Support our sponsors so that they can support us. Our next sponsor is Rachel Greenwell, helps people with their worth, power, and potential, aligning their spiritual purpose to make a positive impact in the world. Super amazing woman there. Our next sponsor is Dr. Nick Sotelo, a licensed professional with a PhD helping men manage anger with expert coaching. Check out stopangertoday.com. Nick Sotelo, super awesome there. And our final sponsor for this episode is Danny Roderick. Discover which frequency your body is resonating in, low, neutral, or high. Danny will guide you to raise your vibration to the Christ frequency. Go check him out, say hello, and enjoy. Whew. All right, you guys ready to get in there? We're going to pull out our first guest. Her name is Lorraine. Lorraine, I have a question for you. Who are you?
Hey, I am Lorraine. I am the Painless Piano Coach. I am an entrepreneur for the last 25 years, well, actually longer if you count how long I dabbled in things as a kid. And a single mom for the last 4 years. Thank you. And a single mom for the last 4 years. And I have discovered hacks and tricks to balancing my finances as a single mom as least stressful as possible, so that I don't have to live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay. Well, let's learn a little bit about that then. If I wanted to improve my financial health with cash flow, what piece of advice would you give us?
The most important thing that I have found is to make sure that you are budgeting for your 4 necessities, which are housing, groceries, vehicle, transportation, whatever you need to get around, and utilities, lights, power, water. Making sure that you take those amounts that you need out of your income every month and setting those aside and not touching them except for those expenses is the most important thing.
All right, so take those four out, make sure that they're covered, and that your cash flow covers that. Now, let's get a little more interesting. What if your income doesn't cover those four things?
If your income doesn't cover those things, you need more income. You need to think outside the box, be creative. What can you sell? Garage sale, pick up side gigs. How can you, is there any way to downsize?
Or yeah, minimize your expenses, right?
Yeah, do you need to cancel something? Maybe you don't need cable or internet and you need to go use the internet at the library for a short time. Maybe you need to um, suck up your pride a little bit and go to the food bank for a little while to supplement the grocery budget. Just think creatively and be willing to do whatever you need to do to make those four things. Everything else is a bonus, but those four things are necessities.
Can you repeat those four things again?
Housing, groceries, uh, utilities, power, water, etc., and either taking care of your vehicle, gas, maintenance, or paying for transportation if you take the bus or whatever.
Somehow to move. Awesome. All right. Where on your life journey did you learn these tips?
I learned those after, I actually took a budgeting and finances class shortly before my ex moved out. And that is where I learned the basic idea of that. And then after basically catastrophe struck and he moved out and left me on my own with three kids,
Jesus.
it's been refining that process for myself over the last 4 years.
How do you feel you're doing with it now?
It it relieves a lot of stress. So something that I didn't mention along with that is also if I don't spend the entire amount that I've allotted for groceries or vehicle or whatever is left over in those categories goes into my emergency fund. And, I paid out of pocket $1,000 Monday night that was not expected for my daughter to have an emergency root canal.
Dang.
That would not have been possible if I was not strategic about making sure that I have my bases covered, my necessities covered, and putting extra into an emergency fund.
Awesome. Lorraine, we are going to move on to our next guest now. We'll bring you out in the round robin. Next up, we have Krista. Krista, tell me who you are.
Well, I am a bookkeeper by trade, and I help small business owners get comfy with the F word. The other F word that no one actually likes to say, finances.
I want to be comfy with all the F words.
Yeah, it's hard for people, even business owners. It's really a challenge for people to talk about money and understand their money. And I found the more businesses I work with, the more I realize that even business owners really don't understand how to handle and control their money.
Why do people hate talking about money so much? When did it ever become taboo?
It's a cultural thing. We can drop the F bomb, but talk about money and it's an issue.
It's weird, right? It's weird. All right. Answer me this. Riddle me this. If I wanted to improve my financial health with cash flow, what piece of advice would you give me?
I would say understand the difference between your profit and your cash flow. Most people have no idea that their profit is not their cash flow.
Tell me what the difference is.
So your profit is your income, take away your expenses. Your cash flow is very different. Your cash flow is not only the timing of those monies coming in and out, but it's also your debts. It's also your investing. It's also your owner's draw. That's not on your P&L. Your P&L is only your income and your expenses. It's not the money you're taking out of your business to pay yourself if you're not on payroll. It's not the money you're paying back to those loans. So it's definitely important to understand the difference between the two and what each one is.
And so, in most commonly, small businesses typically will have a lot of cash flow, right? If you're successful, you're churning money. Maybe you have a
I
loan
think I
out,
just
something
lost
like
you for a
that.
minute.
Oh, can you hear me now? You with me,
I
Crystal?
lost you. I'm with you. I lost you for a minute. I just had a power surge.
Okay.
I'm back.
All right. Do you want us to move on to the next guest?
Yeah, if you want to move on to Lorraine while I find out why I just lost power, that'd be great.
All right. You solve that, and we'll get back with you. All right, Misty. Let's go check out Misty. Who are you?
I am a business consultant and transformational coach. I help people manage and improve their bottom line of their business or their personal finances by understanding that money is an energy and that you have to be aligned to your core values.
Ooh, money is an energy, and you have to be aligned to your core values. Man, that's almost like your tip. I'm curious to hear your tip now. If I wanted to improve my financial health with cash flow, what piece of advice would you give me?
Well, I believe that we don't adequately understand our upbringing, the impact that our parents had on our relationship with money, their experience, the money story they created for us, the money story that we carry into our own lives, whether that is immediately in a relationship, marriage, how that relates to applying for a loan, the approval denied process, and how that triggers us, how we are impacted by culture in driven to succeed and make a six-figure income and what those requirements are. At the same time, the guilt, shame, fear, regret we have over our personal handling of money, and then the religious impact of those beliefs, whether we are right or wrong and doing God's will for our life in our money practices.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I guess I mean they have what do they call it? Like the poverty cycle, right? If you're very very poor, essentially the odds of your kids ending up poor is super high, right?
It
So
is,
how
and
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought. I'm just asking
No,
you questions.
you asked a question. I wanted to hear your question. I can talk all day
I
and
was
share
gonna
nuggets.
I was gonna say what do you do anything or what do you think can be done to help break that? How can
Well,
one
when
break the poverty cycle or encourage a wealth cycle? I guess if you end up being well off, how do you make sure that your kids are wealthy outside of just rich with money? Because that's the other issue, right? All the spoiled kids that are socially not kind.
Yeah, well, I was raised by my parents to be very money conscious and to live on less than I make. They instilled from the very first point of making money in my early teen years, babysitting, that I saved 50% of my income. So those habits were instilled very young. And then the second 50%, they stipulated 10% to charity. So then I only had 40% left, and they designated those categories that I would set money aside for things. So they instilled at a very young age. But carrying that into and as an adult, I had to develop my own formula and figure out what really worked for me. I am 47. I'm a self-made millionaire, and I practice what I teach, and I share my numbers online because most financial courses you take, they give you hypotheticals, a 40-year salary or things like that. I show you my numbers and show you how I budget. I show you how much income I made, one year versus another year. I show you what happens when you have unexpected medical bills. I currently am dealing with Lyme disease and mold toxicity illness and have spent $125,000 in 4 years in medical care. So I share these things so that people understand that the stigma that's created is because of your own personal experience and culture and the impact of teachers, financial institutions, your parents. This creates your money story and your money paradigm. How do we solve that? We look at, are you living in alignment to your core values? I ask you questions if you take my course, Who Moved My Cash? Where is your cash? And what are you doing with your cash? If you don't understand where your money is going and you don't have a skinny jeans budget, which is what I call the bare necessities, then you are not going to know how to improve your lifestyle and how to set aside for the future and where to invest that. We look at questions like, do you love your house? And if you tell me yes, then I ask you, what is the things that you think or say on the day that you go to pay bills or the day that you get your paycheck? Is it, oh my God, my money is already spent? Or do you say, I'm grateful that I earned the money to pay for the lifestyle of the house that I love? Many people have a disconnect. So they say they love their house, but they hate the size of the utility bills. They hate the property taxes. They hate. And the words that come out of their mouth, that's where I say money is an energy. And so we look at reframing those. If you really love your house, then you need to love your bills. Otherwise, if you hate your bills, you don't love your house. And we need to get those into alignment so that you are creating the life that you want and living intentionally in freedom.
Wow. So if you hate your bills, you hate your house.
You can't energetically say you love your house and then despise how much it costs to have that lifestyle. Build your life around the lifestyle you want with capacity to grow and expand. Build it with a framework of not pushing it to the very edge. But a lot of our processes, like even when you go to buy a house, they calculate your income off of gross. Gross revenue is not how a budget is created. It's off of net. So a lot of formulas that a lot of people use will not get you where you want to go, because if you don't have that concept that inside your inner world creates your outer world, you will never get in alignment to your core values. You've got to have clarity what your core values are. Is that to live below your means? Is that to make a six-figure income? What is it? And what do those statuses mean to you? Because the money story that you create and the energy that you feed that story with will create your reality.
I love it, Missy.
So,
I think you just led us into a great topic. So we're going to bring everyone else out and have a little round robin. So we'll bring Krista and Lorraine out. Man, I love Misty bringing up core values. Even in finances, you find that. I mean, it's the number one thing. Anytime I coach any new business owner, I'm always like, what are your core values? And half the time, no one even knows what they are. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about core values and money. Let's just, Krista, do you ever talk about core values and money? Do you have core values and money? If they are, tell us.
Always. Yeah. And I talk about this with, I was saying I love what Misty says, because that's what I work on with my clients, is that intentionality with your money and, spending it on paper first. You need to have a money plan. Spending that money on paper first is huge. And that core value of, just like what Lorraine said, making sure your core four are taken care of first, because you got to, what I said to my children, teaching them about money, it's the must do's before the want to's. We need to take care of what's going to sustain us before we go have fun. And knowing what's important to you. And I'm not saying to people about, you can't spend money here. It's what's important to you. And let's direct your funds to that first. So having that daily check-in with your money about, am I spending it intentionally in a way that serves me? Does it serve me? Do I like where it's going? And when we review, I'm doing year-end, check-ins right now with clients so that I do what's called a mock close. We're closing their years now to prepare for taxes and looking at, okay, are you happy with where your money went? Do you like it? Did it bring you what you wanted it to bring you? And if it didn't, we need to change it.
I agree with that, man. I'm someone that hates spending money. So anytime I have an expense, ended up turning it into a business, into a
Yep.
profit. But that's not for everyone.
Austin, to your
I hate say that. Yeah, like I mean, I hate
Austin, to
I
your
hate
point,
bills on houses and I hate mortgages. Go ahead, Missy.
I think to your point about core values and why people don't understand them is because they haven't spent that time to look at inside of them what is most important. What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their goals? What are their dreams? What are these things and how much do they need to get to that place to meet them? If you don't know what matters to you and you're living about what society tells you that you need a six-figure income or you need a fancy house or a fancy car, you then start just replicating that without even looking at, is this something I really want? Instead of realizing little things. Many six-figure income earners have very little cash flow and very little profit and very little money left over, if any. So just,
Yes.
it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. And it's about, are you spending and your money, earning your money, doing something you love, spending your money for things that you love, and being in alignment to who you are. I don't get my hair dyed. I don't get fingernails done. That's not where I want to spend money. I have a Corvette. I'd rather get another tank of gas for 75 bucks and go out and watch the sunset with the top down and listening to music. That fills me more than getting my hair dyed or my nails done. Those are not wrong or better. They are simply personal choices. But my personal choices will create my life, and will I live intentionally to them? Your alignment and your meaning and purpose comes when your intentional life is lived in alignment to your core values.
Here. Yeah. That's getting people to understand what it is, though, and really key into where their money's going and to choose where their money's going. They don't realize they have choices. They're making choices every day. I just wrote a
think it's like,
blog about, is your coffee worth $10,000? You know, because if we just spend money on coffee every morning and you look at that, it only takes what, $23 a day to blow $10,000 in a year.
Damn. I'm gonna
and I
read
think
that
those
book.
little nuggets, Krista, that we can share with our clients and our circle and our friends and help people understand that they think that having a nest egg requires that they make a lot of money. And it's little decisions, simple disciplines done consistently over time that produce results. That compound interest happens with a little bit of money. It doesn't take a big sum of money to get where you want to be. On the last 10, and I post my stats online, the last 10 years, my adjusted gross income has averaged 57,000. That is not lucrative money, but I'm a self-made millionaire on that money. So
It's
Okay.
doable. And working with millionaires, I mean, a lot of my clients are millionaires, and learning from them how they do it. They're not doing it in big, huge, they're doing it in little tiny increments every day.
yes,
All right. Question from the audience: is savings a waste? Why?
I don't think savings is a waste, but you can't outsave debt.
Can't outsave
Very
debt.
true.
If you look at what debt's costing you, you can't outsave that. To me, the first thing you have to do is get rid of your debt if you really want to save.
That's true.
I always say get a nest egg first so that you don't have to resort to debt. Get a little nest egg, get an emergency fund. But then at that point, start crushing your debt. If you actually want to start saving money, the average debt is what, 27%, 29%. Average savings is making less than 5%.
Yep. At that
You
point,
got
you
to
have
get
to
rid
just
of that debt to
consider the
save.
cost of money. What's the price of your loan? What's the price of your debt versus the amount you're making off it? You know,
Which
if
is
you're
cash
putting in
flow.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So you got a mortgage, say 4%, and you've got a stock market doing 10%, and you're sure of it. Is it well? Hopefully, you're sure of it. I mean, over the last 100 years, stock market does about 10% in returns. So is it worth your time to pay off the 4% mortgage, or is it worth your time to invest your extra money into the stock market at 10%?
Yeah. And at that point, you know, again, like you, I make everything a business, you know.
Yeah.
If you make it into a business, it's worth having some debt sometimes so that you have free cash flow to invest in better options. And if you don't know how to free up your cash flow to take opportunities, you're not doing yourself any favors whatsoever. You have to put yourself in a cash flow positive position to take advantage of being able to save.
And to add to that
It also
question,
comes back to values. So, like, personally, my value is that I want to have my mortgage paid off before I want to start being really focused on investing. I just want the security of knowing that my mortgage is gone and I don't have to worry about that anymore before I worry about investing.
and
See,
the
for
question
me,
that they ask is it a waste of time? It's not, but it can be a waste if you don't have your priorities in order and you're spending more in credit card interest or auto loan interest or other things. You've got to look at what is your cash flow needs and do you have reserves if you were to lose your job or if you were to face a health catastrophe that wipes you out and you can't work. How long would you have reserves? A Dave Ramsey emergency fund of $1,000 isn't very strong, but that's better than having nothing. So you've got to look at what is your outgo. My current medical bills run around $4,000 a month. So my cash flow needs are going to be a lot higher than some other people. So when you look at these numbers, you've got to have the concrete information, which most people are scared to look at because the truth hurts. And sometimes we don't like what we see as reality. But without acknowledging,
we judge ourselves on it.
Exactly. And without acknowledging and becoming aware of what those numbers are, you can't shift your money story. You can't change your money energy. You can't be in alignment to your core values without a benchmark to come back to an equation that you can gauge your life with. So Lorraine says those 4 must-haves that we all have are basic needs. What are your basic needs? What are your non-negotiables? What are your, as I refer to, my skinny jeans budget? What is the bare necessities? And then what are extras that you can have in your life? Or are you going to sacrifice those so you pay down your credit card debt so that in 2 years or whatever it takes, you then have money to put into savings? That strategy is not a waste. It will never be a waste. But if you reverse it and you try to put money in savings while you have astronomical credit card debt, you're wasting your money.
And I think there's a difference between mortgage debt and credit card debt. Like my mortgage is only at 2.5%. I will absolutely put more money into savings before I pay off my mortgage because I know if we have an issue, I have reserves to be able to pay for my life. And I like to have, my goal is 6 to 9 months of savings that will pay for my life. And last year I did go through a huge health crisis where I was sick for 9 months and I couldn't work. And I was very glad that I had some reserves and that my mortgage interest rate was so low and that I had paid off my credit card debt, or I wouldn't have made it. After my husband passed away and it was just me and my girls, we almost didn't make it because I didn't understand cash flow. Here I was hiding my car in the garage from the repo man and figuring out how I'm going to either pay for heat or tires. Like there was no win situation. It was because I didn't have a handle on my cash flow. I didn't have savings. I didn't have something to cover myself. And I think that savings is you have to have some savings before you start knocking out your debt.
All right, guys, we are at the point in our show where we need to come up with a daily challenge. It is a task that must take less than 5 minutes a day, cost $0, and be available to anyone in the world that helps us improve our financial health with cash flow. What ideas do you have?
I call it the daily dollar. It's a challenge I give to all of my clients. And it's tracking where your expenses are, because it's what we have the most control over, is how we spend our money. We don't always have control over our income, but we do have control over what we spend. And if you just track where you put your money, it's eye-opening.
Okay, so maybe like write down 3 things you spent your money on that day.
Or everything you spent. Keep a little notebook. Write down everywhere your money went that day. It's very eye-opening. It's a doesn't take long, but all of a sudden we realize how much more we're spending than we thought we were.
Okay.
I would challenge them to look at I would challenge them to look at their words. There's power in our words, and your words will reinforce the energy and the money story that you carry. So, what do you say every day when you open your bank app to look at your bank balance? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Write those things down, because that is your current money story, and it's a paradigm that you're building a foundation on from those stories that you reinforce every day.
Yeah, I love both of those actually. My suggestion was going to be to look back at like take one one item each day to look back at, like how much has housing cost for the last 3 months, how much of groceries and utilities and vehicle or transportation, and just start figuring out what that costs realistically, not what you wish it would cost in your ideal budget, but realistically what you spend on it.
Yeah,
So
take
break
that
it down,
blindfold off, right?
break down your monthly expenses by day.
Yeah, taking
All
off
right,
your blindfold, it was a hard thing to do. But when you do it, all of a sudden you're set free.
All right,
Right.
so let's focus on. We can definitely. It's going to be easy to figure out your mentality and some words. So let's have 3 power words on your mind. Actually, I would say them out loud. Say
Absolutely.
3 power words out loud. Check your power words out loud while thinking about your finances. And then I like writing down everything you spent money on that day. And then we'll just include your monthly expenses too. Does that sound good, Lorraine?
Sure.
I mean, we're just going to break them down by a day, right? That's gonna be
Well, the other
easy.
thing, Austin, they can do, and this, if they did this for 30 days, then get a total and break that down by the number of hours you worked that much. And then you can compare how much it's costing you an hour to live versus the hour that you made income. That also helps people see the discrepancy that they're earning, let's just be hypothetical, 25 bucks an hour, but they're spending 45 bucks an hour. But then you understand why you're living on credit cards and you're carrying a balance every month. So there's small formulas that we can do to reinforce and help them become aware of their cash flow needs.
I like that.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of looking at it that way. I love that.
Yeah, so we'll break it down by day instead of hours, so it's a little bit easier. But break down your monthly expenses and everything you spent, and then figure out how much you made that day, and hopefully it's positive.
And if
Otherwise, you're
it's
gonna
not,
have
let's
to,
change it.
yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna have to contact one of these 3 and ask them, why the hell am I working for negative money?
It's the question we get all the time, isn't it? Where'd my money go?
Where'd my money go? All right, guys. Well, we did what we needed to do. I'm going to wrap up the show here. Thank you guys so much for coming out today and enlightening us with all of your knowledge. And thank you as well for watching. Please make sure to watch our future episodes. Go and follow all of our guests on their Instas and Facebooks and all that fun stuff.